Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Thank you very much, Erica Standish, and welcome everybody to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host, Josh Taylor. Good to talk to you again on a Saturday night. And it's a Saturday night that has NFL divisional football that's taking place, a lot of college basketball that we've got to get into, plus Penguins on the road currently facing the Las Vegas Golden Knights. We'll give you updates on that score as they come about. So a pretty busy night of plenty of things to discuss. We talked about that NFL divisional playoff football going on. Baltimore continues to roll on. They're going to roll to the AFC Championship game. They beat Houston 34-10 today in a game that the Texans tried to make close going into the second quarter. Had a chance to actually go up before the half, and they missed a late field goal in the second quarter. Houston could have led this game 13-10 at halftime. They did not. It was tied at the half, and then Baltimore did not look back in the second half. 24 unanswered for the Ravens to take that win. They host the AFC Championship game next week. Also, Green Bay and San Francisco. The 49ers, by the way, the one seed in the NFC side of the bracket, they're trailing Green Bay right now 21-14. So that is quite the surprise on the football side of things. But I want to start with a huge game that just ended moments ago down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Pitt beats Duke 80-76. And to help me discuss that game and a bunch of other things while we take your calls, 412-575-2600, my guest is live in the 93.7 The Fan newsroom. I believe it is Jeff Hathorn. He joins me. Jeff, let's get into Duke and Pitt, because this game, it's granted, yes, anytime you get a chance to play Duke, it's a big deal. It's Cameron Indoor. It's the Cameron Crazies. It's a chance to play on the biggest stage. But they played a huge game, perhaps maybe one of their best complete games of the season, one of the biggest stages in college basketball.
But Blake Hinson was the 2 in H2P.
Yeah.
It was a big night. When he's hitting shots like that, just like when they were down in West Virginia, you know, you could see the team build off that. And he hit that one, like a laser line drive where it looked like he may have been fouled from the top of the key in the second half. Like, when those things start going down, it was amazing. What was he, 7 of 7, I think, from 3 for the game. So,
unbelievable.
Big win. 45 years since the last time they won down at Duke?
1979, which, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And to that point, let's go to our tweet of the night, which comes, our GMC Sierra tweet of the night, which comes from our own Bob Pompiani. Pitt is it. First Panthers win at Duke since 1979, 80-76. Blake Hinson, 24 points. Jalen Lowe, 16 points. So that answers your question there, Jeff. 45 years.
Capel was 4 years old. Capel was 4 years old
Ooh.
when that happened. And not good for him. I mean, you know, there's pressure when you're a Duke guy. You go down, even with Coach K not there anymore. Yep. And you saw that first game win. I mean, that game was over in the 10-minute mark. Pitt just kept battling. They took that early lead. You knew Duke was going to fight back. How are they going to handle that? They handled it great, man. And Ish Leggett, I thought, played really well.
Yes, indeed.
Fetty, you know, that was the best game we've seen from Fetty all year.
And he had a really tough draw trying to deal with those guys inside. And Filipowski gave Pitt fits every chance he could, whether he had the ball in his hands or defensively. He was throwing everything he could at him. And it took 3 or 4 different guys to try to contend with him. And to their credit, to the credit of Lowe and Leggett and even Diaz-Graham and Federico, they all chipped in. They all did their part, and they all contributed to an 80-76 win. 412-575-2600 on the Borders and Borders hotline. Want to hear what you guys have to say both about this game, a lot of other college basketball games. One took place in Philadelphia that I don't want to really discuss right now, but we'll talk about it later. All that other stuff that we'll talk about too, plus some playoff football. We will take a break. We'll get into all of it when we come back. Stick around. Welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host, Josh Taylor, joined by Jeff Hathorn. He is live in the 93.7 The Fan newsroom. Throwing out some updates right now out in San Francisco, 21-17. Green Bay leading the 49ers in that NFC divisional round. No score also in Vegas between the Pens and the Golden Knights. We'll keep you updated as that one goes along. They've gotten points in 4 straight games. I'm sure we'll get to more of that. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. We're talking playoff football. We're talking college basketball. Whatever you want to talk about, 412-575-2600. Join us on that number. We got Derek and Irwin. Derek, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hello. So I got to be honest with you. Pitt basketball has really impressed me. So I just wanted to know, do you think we have a real shot at – are you kidding me? You never would have told me that you would have actually given it to me.
I have no idea what just happened. Let's start with what we know. Jeff, the thing that sticks out to me about that Pitt game, and I talked about this a little bit in the first segment, how everybody seemed to be doing certain jobs, whether it was Federico, whether it was Diaz-Graham, whether it was Lowe, whether it was Leggett. You had guys, no one seemed to be playing outside of what they normally do. You had shooters shooting, you had guys making passes, you had guys rebounding and defending. And they did all of this, by the way, with all that foul trouble. And the foul shooting numbers in this game were absolutely ridiculous. Duke had, I think, nearly, 30 free throws? I think Pitt had 9. It's just insane.
Yeah, I think they were like 20 of 26, and Pitt was until the end. And remember, they were fouling Pitt at the end, where the numbers would have been even more. It was, and Duke got the 3 free throws, so I guess you have to count those in as well at the end of the game. But but you kind of know that going in. Like when they were disputing that inbound where they replayed it forever.
Yes.
I mean, did anybody have any doubt that Duke was going to end up with that basketball?
No, not at all.
If it takes that long, it should revert to the call on the floor. But they were going to wait till they found forensic proof that it was Duke's basketball.
Yeah,
but
they
still,
found the hummingbird
Pitt
flapping its wings
all
that
of
caused
that.
it to glance off of a Pitt player's hand, of course, yes.
Well, let's not talk flapping wings. That was disappointing.
I can't believe I set myself up that way. Wow.
I know, you did.
Terrible.
You did. But I think that's a great point you made because, to the point about pressing, when you're pressing, you're trying to do other people's jobs quite often. And it's a good thought, but it doesn't help the team. And I think that's a really good point. I thought they played really well. Did they make mistakes? Sure they did.
Absolutely.
Duke's more talented than the Panthers on paper.
Absolutely.
But the Panthers found a way.
And you can even make the case that Duke had some of their key guys missing, and that's also a true point. But to Pitt's credit, there have been many a times when they've been down in that setting, in that situation, and whether it's the crowd, it's the pressure, it's the national spotlight, so many things tend to crush in on them, and they didn't blink, they didn't flinch under that pressure.
Yeah, and good for him. And look, there's Duquesne, had a chance to win it at the end without their leading scorer and best player. And they find ways to be in games. They just haven't made that shot to get them over the edge. And if that comes, they've got a chance to win a number of games because I think it's Dayton.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the A-10.
That's
so
a fair
I think
assessment.
everybody's beatable but Dayton.
I always look at games like Dayton, Richmond as being like the benchmark games in the A-10, and I thought that was a fair way to go about it. And of course, they've lost to both teams, but that's neither here nor there. 0-5 in conference play, definitely not what I expected right now in the current moment for my beloved alma mater. But let's keep it rolling. Jackson and Penn Township, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Yeah, so some good points earlier, but honestly, I'm back and you couldn't get rid of me.
Oh, dear God. Can we stop with this? Karen in Mount Washington, please tell me you have something to ask me.
Hi, my question is about the Senior Bowl, and I was wondering, I read something about Mr. Rooney. Do they normally go down, do the owners normally go down to see the players? And
actually,
I was wondering,
yeah, the Steelers actually send a pretty strong contingent to the Steeler Bowl. That's actually a great question, and thank you for that call. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong here. In times past with Kevin Colbert, it was Kevin Colbert, it was Mike Tomlin, it was several guys on the staff that were usually involved in the Senior Bowl. And Mike Tomlin specifically talked about how he likes to go down there and talk to guys at the Senior Bowl and meet players there because it's kind of like the earliest part of the pre-draft process, how they get involved with it before they really go through everything else. And they take that really seriously.
It turns my stomach to have to go to Mobile. Not that I hate the place. It's just that was from Mike Tomlin from earlier in the week. Listen, Tomlin goes down, obviously when they're not in the playoffs, which sadly they haven't been for a while at that time of year. But he's down there. Omar will be down there. Andy Weidel will be down there. They'll have White will be down there. They'll have a number of scouts.
Yep.
And what it is you can kind of pull guys off to the side and just have conversations with them.
Right.
And you get a practice. It's not like a combine where you just see them do combine drills, 40-yard dashes and other things, bench presses. This, you get to see them in practice. And I think what the Steelers really look for is Like, who's busting it in practice?
Right.
Like, who's taking that seriously, doesn't think that they're too big for Senior Bowl practices? I think that's one of the hidden things the Steelers always try to look for down there.
It's also a big opportunity for coaching staffs because some of the position coaches and maybe the younger guys in the staff that normally don't get those opportunities, like your secondary coach might be your defensive coordinator. Your offensive line coach might be your offensive coordinator for the week. So those guys are getting opportunities to do jobs they normally might not have had. If I remember correctly, I think Grady Brown, the secondary coach, I want to say he's the defensive coordinator maybe last year at the Senior Bowl. So that's also another opportunity that guys in the coaching staff get to do things of that nature. Got a question on Twitter, Jeff, I want to throw at you about the possibility of certain cornerbacks, like a Cooper DeJean from Iowa or a Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama, maybe as possibilities for the Steelers that kind of fortify that position.
McKinstry, just because the name, the first name, is the guy that I would love. I mean, who doesn't want a little Kool-Aid and JPJ on the other side? I think corner is a position where you absolutely could look for in the first round. I think center is a position you could look for in the first round.
Yes.
I think defensive line, if somebody is there.
Yes.
I think even if a wide receiver falls there that you love, I mean, Steelers need a 3.
Yep.
And, you know, I don't think that's a bad move either.
I said this last year, Jeff, and I got the wish that I wished. I wanted 2 of the top 3 picks to be somewhere in the trenches, an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman. That's exactly what happened in the last draft. So I'm going to dial this up again. I'd love to see 2 of the top 3 or top 4 picks in this draft be guys in the trenches again, because it'd be a good time to continue to stock those lines up, especially if you can find some good talent up front. And the center position, we were talking about West Virginia earlier in the show. They got one of those really good centers that's entering the draft. That would not be a pretty bad move in my estimation. We got to take a break. We'll wrap up when we come back. Stick around. Got a few minutes left in show. Jeff Hathorn, something that's been brought to our attention once again. Bob Pompiani, by the way, that man is just an absolute machine on social media. Like, never misses a beat. But he rattled this one off within the last few moments. He said this is a crazy stat, and it was courtesy of Steelers Depot. 49ers under Kyle Shanahan since 2017, including the postseason, they are 0-30 when they trail by 5 or more points entering the fourth quarter. They entered the fourth quarter tonight trailing by a touchdown. It's 21-17 Green Bay, and San Francisco just punted. Things not looking good for the 49ers right now, Jeff.
Wow. I mean, it was a shocker when Green Bay went down to Dallas, especially the way that they did it. Maybe Green Bay's not so bad, and maybe Coach LaFleur isn't as bad as he was made out to be. He was just Aaron Rodgers carried him all these years. Maybe not so much. Maybe he's a pretty good. Maybe he's a pretty good coach, and maybe the pick of Jordan Love was pretty smart on Green Bay's part to set themselves up with a quarterback for the future. He has played some terrific football, and you know, Ravens too, man. Lamar was a beast today.
Our producer Hannah Mears and I were talking about this off air. Just the way that they looked, whether it was throwing the ball, whether it was Lamar Jackson running the ball in design runs or scrambling, or just their design run plays with the running backs, they were blocked up well. They looked like a well-oiled machine, and they won that game by 24, and it really didn't even look as close as the score dictated. Baltimore look really good right now. I mean, not despite having the certain injury situations they have, they're probably the healthiest group of all. And it's also worth pointing this out, Jeff, because we all like to mention how Houston and San Francisco beat the Steelers. The Steelers also beat Green Bay and Baltimore this season. Worth pointing that part out.
So they should be in the AFC title game. I knew it. I knew it. They should be in there.
I'm not ready to go that far just yet. But all the same, it's going to be fun to see how this continues to unwrap. For Jeff Hathorn, for our producer Hannah Mears, and our team here at KDKA, I'm Josh Taylor. Thanks for watching. We're here for you every night on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. See you later.